Welcome to International Securities Exchange's podcast series. Facilitated by renowned educators, ISE podcasts are intended to teach beginning as well as seasoned investors the ins and outs of trading. To find an updated list of podcasts, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts. Please be sure to listen to our important message following this episode regarding the risks of investing in exchange-traded options.
Couple more patterns that happen to form inside our trading ranges I want to talk about. For trend reversal patterns, double tops and double bottoms, everybody knows pretty well. Descending triangles can and ascending triangles can form in the ranges too. Okay, so again, buy calls near the bottom of the range and puts near the top. We had bull flags and bear flags once prices do leave the range, which would be trend continuation patterns. Now, on a bull flag, some people like to buy near the bottom of the flag to try to buy again. A bull flag is more or less a vertical channel, so they're buying support on the bottom of the vertical channel versus taking a break out of the top. Okay, and again, you would want to use puts near the top of a bear flag, or again, buy puts on the breakdown out of the bear flag if you want confirmation that the bear flag is actually a valid pattern. That's no problem. Here's one that actually gave us an opportunity with a possible bull flag forming at the beginning of the month. Okay, again, this is the Swiss franc. Okay, and here you can see possible bull flag by 105 calls on a breakout of the top of the thing. You can use a measured move, folks, if you want. You can measure the highest high versus the lowest low and then use that as a projection in the future for a possible profit target. I sort of kind of put a little profit target line up here for myself at around 107.80. Okay, there was support up here, so there might be resistance on the way up too. And again, it's possible though the price would come down and test this lower line a week or two or three later. Some people will take that dip, buy on that dip to the lower line, and actually what you're doing is buying the bottom of a channel, but now it's a vertical channel. Okay, all right. So at this point in time, leaving the presentation that you're looking at here, I think what we're going to do before we take questions is maybe jump out here if I can to my charts. All right, now since I'm on the road here in Boston, I really don't have any of my charts. So what I'm going to do is go one by one through our currencies. Let's start off with the British pound here. This is a weekly chart of the British pound, which you can see absolutely nothing on here except a British pound that is still sitting inside of a trading range 4 weeks after I did our little presentation here, right? So we're finding support near the bottom of this trading range. We're finding resistance near the top. And again, as long as it wants to stay in here, some kind of a strategy to collect premium is what most of your traders are trying to do, okay?
Maybe a calendar spread, right, Steve? That's like a low-risk way of putting on, where is it, around 50-ish. 50, you could buy the, the 3-month calendar, the 2-month calendar on the 50.5 strike if you felt that it was going to hang in there, sort of a low-risk way to trade that.
Excellent, excellent. So as I bring them up, Steve here can jump right in, and you can suggest some other ideas here. So here we actually have our euro. And of course, there's our 62.50. There's our double bottom. Okay. My lines aren't going to be perfect, folks. I apologize for that, but here we are, still inside this range. So, any suggestions for a trade in here? Let me insert that moving average, because of course the moving average is part of this strategy. I use a weighted moving average, and my settings for anybody that uses it on a weekly chart based on Stan Weinstein's book is you want to use a 30 weighted moving average. Okay, so he used a 30 weighted weekly moving average on his charts, and how he would determine what he would do is the moving average had to be in this trading range for prices to break out of into a new possible uptrend. And again, like I say, there is so much bad news out there. There's so many bad things happening with the dollar. But if the dollar breaks out of this trading range, folks, then good news is, or actually bad news is good news. Okay, so any bad news of the dollar is good news because the dollar's going higher. Okay, so So let's look again here next at the Canadian. See if I get this happens frequently with TradeStation. So let's see, let's bump around here till I find a chart. All right, we had the Canadian, or we need the Canadian next. Thank you. All right, folks, let's look at our Canadian dollar. Okay. Can anybody say range? Okay. However, you'll notice the dollar versus the Canadian dollar has been sneaking here. Again, this is a clue that the sellers are trying all they've got to push prices lower, but buyers are buying on dips, even to a vertical trend line. Okay, so there could be an explosion rally to the upside, but don't forget, we have an event coming up here on Friday that could change the picture for everything, right? Imagine what a 350,000 job gain would do to this dollar, though. Okay. Here is the yuck. Okay. Remember I said, too, once you break out of one of these little trading ranges, you have the possibility for a pullback. Okay. You'll notice my moving average is inside this little trading range. We did dip here about 2 weeks ago, and we came pretty far into the trading range, but again, we reversed and we headed back out again, and now we're trading up at the top of the little bit higher range here. So,
Steve, can I ask a question?
The dip, right? Go ahead, Steve.
This seems like this is the most bullish of the ones, right? Is that a good or a bad thing, would you say? Like if you were a dollar bull, would you be looking for the other pairs to catch up, or you'd rather play the strongest one?
I'll tell you why I like this one better than most of the other ones, because of the effect on the cross rate, okay?
Okay.
The euro-yen cross rate, okay? Nobody considers it, but when you stop and you think about it, the euro-yen has to be broken back down into its two parts, the dollar-euro and the dollar-yen. So you see the dollar strengthening pretty good against the yen. However, it hasn't strengthened quite as much against the euro, okay? I think the percentages here are 46% retracement here versus a 19% retracement versus the euro. So this is one reason why I'm really favoring this pair is one of my stronger ones. Okay, so it could very well break out through the top here. And then, of course, you're going to have to watch it when you get a little bit higher up here. There's going to be sellers each time you reach these different higher price levels. Okay, but that's a pretty nice retracement there. Okay, you couldn't fight it either. I mean, or you would have cost yourself some cash. Okay.
By your methodology, Steve, by your methodology, you had definitely been out. If you were short, you'd have been out of your short around 105-ish, though, right? No matter what. Looks like that moving average started popping up.
As soon as I started trading in this little consolidation over here with the possibility of a breakout to the upside, if I'm short, I'm gone.
Right.
I'm booking my profits, and I had a nice day. But you know, there are people that like to draw them, and I'm one of them. There's intermediate trends, long-term trends. Okay, there's nothing wrong with adding a couple of trend lines to your chart, and then taking advantage of shorter, longer, and intermediate-term trend lines if they cooperate with me, of course. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can get another one here. Yeah, TradeStation's having issues today. So a trend line like this and a break here would have got you out exactly where you're talking about, Steve. So you'd have had a short-term trend line when you had this steep drop, and you could still even fit in one intermediate-term trend line. So coming up with that jobs report here now on Friday, but you'd have to say a break above this trend line. It's probably off to the races, at least to about, it could go as almost as high as 115. So we'll talk about advanced strategies for taking care of that and taking advantage of it, but definitely the strongest one of the pairs is the dollar versus the yen.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. To find more podcasts on options, stocks, alternative markets, and market data, please visit www.ise.com/podcasts.